So good morning. Good morning, ladies and gentlemen. I am delighted to welcome all of you to IEA's Big IdEAs Distinguished Speaker Series. Before I start to say a few words about our distinguished guests, let me thank first of all, the Swiss ambassador, Ambassador Lehner, and his team to help us to organize this event. Thank you very much, Mr. Ambassador. And we have many ambassadors here, including Ambassador Van Hulst, the chair of our board, and Mr. Secretary General, thank you very much for coming, and Madame Guria, thank you very much for coming here and participate in this very event. I think all of you know by now that since 1.5 years, we introduced this distinguished speaker series. Today is the 8th one. We started with Mrs. Mary Robinson, a former president of Ireland, several ministers, CEOs of major energy companies, thought leaders in terms of global energy, climate change, and technological issues. The idea is to hear from them their views, how they see the energy world today and tomorrow. And I think today's discussion is more focused on the tomorrow's part. We have our ambassadors here. We have IEA experts as well as experts from other institutions. Now today, it's a great honor and a privilege for the IEA to host Mr. Bertrand Piccard. I think everybody knows him. He's very well known for his ambition, his ability to beat the odds, but perhaps for me, most importantly, he's very well known for his great vision. He is I think I understood, and I didn't know that, he has a diploma as a psychiatrist, and he's, as we all know, a very famous explorer. Mr. Bertrand Piccard is best known for undertaking 2 unique round-the-world trips. The first one, which captured the imagination of many people around the world in 1999, when he and his colleague, Brian Jones, completed the first ever circumnavigation of the globe in a balloon in 19 days. And more recently, I think as we all know, as we watch in our televisions, in many cases live broadcasted, Dr. Piccard and his colleague, André Borschberg, flew the groundbreaking Solar Impulse 2 aircraft around the globe, powered by nothing but the sun. And this is what we would like to talk today. The achievements of Dr. Piccard is inspiration for many, including the IEA experts working on technology issues. And it is a very important driver, we believe, for innovation, research and development in energy. And we need this badly. Greater interest, many governments are here, of governments for research and development, especially clean energy technologies. One of our recent reports we published in China, Clean Energy Ministerial Meeting, showed, and it was one of the main figure of the very event in China, that the governments around the world, plus the companies around the world, the money they put for clean energy research and development in the last 10 years did not change at all in nominal terms. Last 10 years, governments and the public institutions and the companies did not increase at all their rather modest clean energy R&D. It's an area that IEA is very concerned about. Coming back to Dr. Piccard, I think it is not an exaggeration to say that he's a role model for experts, but also students in the primary school, in lycée, in universities, and as such, he taught many of us that the vision is very important, following the vision is very important, and he showed us that achieving the incredible is something which is possible. Now, finally, I wanted to say that Dr. Piccard created a foundation and followed up the success of his trip around the world and looking at different aspects of energy. I am sure he's going to elaborate about which we are collaborating in many aspects. Given the challenges we are facing today in the energy transition space, as my colleague Dave Turk always calls, in the clean energy space, energy transition space, we need to get to know Dr. Piccard, his colleagues, and the people like him more and more, and understand their motivation and their courage to follow this path. And we need more people like him who refuse to believe that the sky is the limit. So, Bertrand, thank you very much once again coming here to International Energy Agency at the OECD premises. You are going to tell us about your adventure, but also your plans in the future. Once again, ladies and gentlemen, please join me to welcome Dr. Bertrand Piccard. Now, before Dr. Piccard tells us about his views, his impressions, his adventure, and his plans, he's very much looking forward to share a video with you about his adventure. So perhaps we can now start to run the video.
Achieving the first solar flight around the world. This is the story of two men. Bertrand Piccard, psychiatrist and explorer, and André Borschberg, engineer and entrepreneur. A team driven by a vision of the future and a passion for innovation. And the first airplane of perpetual endurance, able to fly day and night without fuel. Together with their partners, they wanted to show the power of pioneering spirit and clean technologies to bring solutions for a better world. Solar Impulse, the adventure showing that change is possible.
It's a bit the moment of truth, because you simulate, you calculate, you imagine, but there is nothing like testing and doing it in real.
We deeply believe that we can achieve impossible and incredible things with renewable energies, like flying around the world with no fuel. And if this works, of course, everybody can do it on the ground to make a cleaner world. And this can be your way to be with us in the plane.
And this was a scene in Abu Dhabi early this Monday.
Dans ce journal également,
It is now ultralight plane is powered only by the sun's rays.
Between March launch in July 2015, Bertrand Piccard and André Borschberg flew without a drop of fuel from Abu Dhabi to Oman, across the Arabian Sea to India, Myanmar, China, Japan, and over the Pacific to Hawaii.
How are you feeling after all that time? You broke a world record in terms of solo flight of 2 hours.
Resuming the round-the-world adventure in April 2016, Solar Impulse continued from Hawaii to California and New York, across the Atlantic to Spain, then Egypt, and made it back successfully to Abu Dhabi in July. Today, the challenge is no longer to conquer the moon. The challenge is to conquer quality of life on Earth. Our world desperately needs the implementation of clean technologies to reduce the energy consumption and the waste of natural resources.
Hotel India Bravo, turning final, 02 right.
This airplane was not built to carry passengers, but to carry a message. The world could reduce half of its CO2 emissions by replacing old polluting devices with new clean technologies, like those used on Solar Impulse.
I am inspired by your pioneering spirit.
You know, Mr. Secretary General, if an airplane like Solar Impulse can fly day and night without fuel, the world, of course, can be much cleaner.
Inspiring generations, promoting innovative solutions to the challenges of humanity, inventing a brighter future. Solar energy made it possible to fly many days and nights in a row without fuel, crossing 2 oceans and remaining airborne longer than any jet plane in history. 2016 has seen the completion of this pioneering adventure, flying 40,000 kilometers round the world without a single drop of fuel.
Than an achievement in the history of aviation, Solar Impulse has made an achievement in the history of energy. Let's take it further.
Like Solar Impulse, the clean tech revolution has taken off, presenting new ways of thinking and doing to achieve the impossible. And you can be a part of it.
Dear Fatih, Excellencies, dear friends, it's true that it's a wonderful experience to fly over all the countries of the world in a solar-powered airplane, but I think it's even more meaningful to speak to the countries through their ambassadors about what is happening today in the world in terms of energy revolution, because things are going much faster and much deeper than anything we could even imagine 5 years ago. And like in every transition or revolution or evolution, it's difficult to see what will happen. It's difficult to see what is possible and what is not possible. And why that? It's because usually we keep the paradigm we had in the past and project it in the future. And of course, the paradigm that we have used will not work for completely new solutions. And I will give you a few examples, like, can I please have my slides, and you just keep my slides all the time. When the father of my grandfather installed the first telephone in Switzerland, 150 years ago, he invited all his colleagues of the university to make the demonstration. He called his wife to say that he would be late for lunch. And all the colleagues told him, it's really fun, but it has no future. And when we hear that, it sounds stupid, it sounds crazy, it sounds a lack of vision. But no, it's just this perfect illustration that a paradigm has to be changed if we want to change the future. And what was the paradigm of these high-level specialists in those days? It was the fact that if you wanted to use a telephone, you needed a telephone line from every house of the world to every other house of the world, even people you don't know, because maybe one day you will need to call them, which makes billions of lines from every house to every house. Can you imagine? Billions and billions of lines. You could not even see the sky because of these telephonic cables. What was the change of paradigm? It was the operating center. One line only to a center and a connection. So the person who changed telecommunication is not the inventor of the telephone. It's the inventor of the operating center. When I flew around the world in a balloon in 1999, the paradigm that made it really difficult was the fuel consumption, because we needed to burn liquid propane day and night to keep the balloon airborne. The longest balloon flight before my success was 6 days. We flew 20 days. We had to insulate the balloon. We had to go really through a lot of failures. There were 10 teams who tried to be the first, and they all failed, most of them because of lack of fuel. And even for Brian Jones and I, it was really the limit. We had 3.7 tons of liquid propane when we took off. We had 40 kilos when we landed. And that was, for me, really the moment I thought of another paradigm. You can never obtain perpetual flight if you have fuel. Because you're burning that fuel, you need to land to refuel. If you want to fly longer, you need to get rid of fuel. You need to be able to do it without any fuel. And that was the idea, in the beginning, I would say even the dream of Solar Impulse, to have solar power produced by photovoltaic cells, giving enough electricity to run 4 electrical motors and charge batteries that could be used for the night, reach the next sunrise, continue and fly forever. So when I brought this project to the world of aviation, it took the specialist 5 minutes to calculate that the sun would never give enough energy on the size of the wings to propel an airplane. And this is true. It's absolutely true, and it takes 5 minutes. So what did we have to do? We needed all the expertise of a huge team in order not to increase the power of the sun, because this you cannot do, but to decrease the consumption of the airplane. The energy you get, you cannot change, but what you consume, you can change. So Solar Impulse was just the perfect illustration of energy efficiency. What we forget today usually, because today we always hear of people wanting to produce more, and we don't understand that what is the most profitable actually are the technologies to reduce the fuel consumption and to reduce the energy consumption in general. So this is how we worked. The problem is that once we had the design and the plastic model, we thought, okay, now we know how to make a plane that is light enough. We know we have new materials with carbon fiber. We know the plane can be efficient. And we asked the airplane industry to subcontract the construction. And they laughed at us. They said 72-meter wingspan for the weight of a family car, it will never work. Never. You will crash immediately. It will break in the air. And I have to admit that in the beginning, we were a little bit like Dumbo, this poor little elephant with ears that were so big that everybody was laughing at him until he could deploy his ears and fly. And his handicap made him the hero of the circus. So we had to do exactly that. And because our wings were so big, such a big aspect ratio, we had a lot of lift and very little drag. We had the surface for enough solar cells. But the plane had to be extremely light. And extremely light, it's not 10% lighter proportionally to the size of the best glider in the world. It was 10 times lighter. 10 times. So you imagine the difficulty to reach this. So if the airplane industry told us it was impossible, we had to find people who did not know it was impossible. And those were people in the shipyard. People building hulls of boats in carbon fiber who built the ships who won the America's Cup twice for Switzerland. But they were telling us, we cannot work with your engineers because they don't know how to use carbon fiber. Our engineers said, it's a shipyard, they don't know how to make a plane. And you see how you need to change the paradigm each time in order to be able to add new values, to add new skills, to add new expertise and new knowledge. But I was a little bit sad, I have to say in the beginning, to see that the world of aviation didn't care about us. And then I remembered that it's not the people who were selling the best candles who invented the light bulb. It's other people. And here again, you see the difficulty to shift the paradigm. Sometimes you cannot change the paradigm in the mind of the people. So you need to change the people instead of the paradigm. We had to do that. We had to take this airplane being made by a shipyard and not by the world of aviation. And for the partners who funded the project, it was exactly the same. No airplane company, no airline. I think I made a mistake. I should have put the logo of all the airplane companies on Solar Impulse for free. And they would have paid me a fortune to remove their logos because they were so afraid that we would crash and damage their image. So finally, we had chemical companies, elevators, watches, company industries like ABB, Swisscom, Altran, Covestro, Solvay, Moët also, because of course we need also a partner for the team, not only for the airplane. But you see, it was really strange to see that nobody in the world of experts were caring about us. And only pioneers who knew that this project could open new scientific dimensions agreed to help us. And it was the same, I remembered, for my grandfather when he invented the pressurized cabin in the 30s and wanted to test it in the stratosphere. No specialist wanted to build his capsule. It was finally a manufacturer of aluminium beer tanks who made that first pressurized cabin that went to the stratosphere. When my father made the deepest dive ever, 11,000 kilometers down in the Mariana Trench in 1960, he was not a submarine constructor. He studied political economy, and he built this submarine with my grandfather and made a dive 11 kilometers down when the specialists were diving 300 meters. So you see how important it is, each time we face a new challenge, to stop believing that we can reach a target, a goal, an objective in a straight line. It doesn't work. And this we learn to do. This is our normal education. We have a target and we want to go straight to it. And we don't want to look left and right. We don't want the unknown. We don't want new ways to think because we believe we are right and we have to go straight to the point. Well, when there is an obstacle, then we're stuck. And we think, why is life, why is the world so cruel with me? Instead of asking, why am I not ready for life and for this always changing world? So we see how important it is, each time we set a vision, each time we face a revolution, to understand that what we need is not the straight line, it's the exploration of all the options. But this is a mental process. It's a psychological process that we have to learn. We need science. We need technology. We need finance. We need politics. We need all what we have. But in addition to it, we have to understand that the way we use all these skills and all these different ways is usually wrong, or at least not enough. We need to understand that all what we have, needs to be explored in every direction, which means that sometimes we have to envisage the opposite of what we have learned, the opposite of what we deeply believe. It's a really interesting process to see the future, to see what happens, and to understand that it might be the opposite of our deepest conviction. And this is why we need this pioneering spirit. We need this exploration spirit. Because we don't know in the beginning which is the road that goes to our goal. So we have to envisage all of them. We have to understand that life is like a firework in 3 dimensions. For each point, there is a line going somewhere. One of them is the best one. One of them goes where we want. We just have to try every altitude, every way of thinking, every way of behaving, until we find the line that reaches our goal. If we see the history of exploration, it's exactly the same. Going on the moon, climbing the highest mountains, flying in the sky. We think that it is somebody who suddenly had a new idea and wanted to invent something. No. They are dreams of humankind for thousands of years. Why did it happen suddenly in the early 20th century? Some will say because of technology. Okay, I agree for the moon, but I don't agree for the Everest and I don't agree for flying. The first airplane was made out of wood and cloth. The Babylonians, the Assyrians, the Egyptians could have flown 5,000 years ago. They had wood, they had cloth. Why didn't they do it? Because it was prohibited by the mythology. Only the gods were allowed to fly. Leonardo da Vinci, in the Renaissance, made airplane models that could have flown. It's proven today. He could have flown. But he was not stupid enough to try. He would have been burned and tortured by the Inquisition, by the church. The Nepalese and the Tibetans, they had the Everest in front of them for thousands of years, but it was a holy mountain. They were not allowed to climb to the top. And suddenly, in the early 20th century, you have explorers who said, we don't care about these old paradigms anymore. We want to try. And in 66 years, which is really short in the history of humankind, you have the first airplane, the North Pole, the South Pole, the Everest Mountain, the Mariana Trench, and the moon. Showing what? Showing that innovation is not a new idea that you have suddenly. Innovation is when you accept to change your paradigm, to throw away old convictions like ballast from a balloon, to change altitude and take a better direction. For Solar Impulse, it was exactly the same. We wanted to change the paradigm and have an airplane flying perpetually. An airplane that could fly with no limit. And this is finally what we achieved. Of course, we had to lend some time to change the pilot. But the plane could fly perpetually. So imagine the situation. You're flying in the middle of an ocean, already since a couple of days, and you know you have a couple of days still in flight in front of you. You look at the sun. You look at your 4 electrical motors with huge propellers turning very slowly, and you have no noise, no pollution, no fuel. And you start to believe you are in a science fiction movie. You start to think, wow, I'm already jumping into the future. And not at all. Not at all. It's the present. It's what the current state of technology and science allows us to do today. It's the rest of the world that is in the past. Not Solar Impulse in the future. The rest of the world in the past. With old systems, old process, old technologies, old type of energies that, of course, have to be changed. And this is what I was thinking when I was flying there. Today, if we want to change the type of energy we use, if we want to change the type of technology that we use to be more efficient, what do we hear? We hear it's impossible. We hear nobody has done it. We hear it has been like this for 100 or 200 of years. Why would we change? And here we see again this paradigm this paradigm that has to be changed. Because the world today is living in the past. And each time we were landing with Solar Impulse to change the pilot, when I arrived from Hawaii and I had to land in San Francisco, it was just to give the seat to André Borschberg, my friend, who was continuing for the next leg, and we promised each other that we would share this flight around the world. But I tell you, each takeoff was fantastic. Each landing was so sad. And we just wanted to take off again. And today, it's true that we are taking off again. Because the importance of this flight around the world is not just the plane. It's, of course, not just the pilots. It's not even the team. The team was so important, but it's not the goal in itself. No, the goal is the panel that we have in front of the team. We flew 40,000 kilometers without fuel. Take it further. That's the message. Take it further. We demonstrated what was possible. We demonstrated that we can change the paradigm. We demonstrated that the technology exists today to have an airplane flying with no fuel day and night. Of course, it means that these technologies, who can do the most, can also do the least. They can also do the same on the ground. They can do it for mobility, for construction, for industry, for everything. So what does it mean clearly? It means that the paradigm that has to be changed is to go from the ecological view of the world to an economical view of the world in terms of energy. Because the people who were promoting clean energy in the past, who were promoting protection of the environment, were only looking the interest of nature and not the interest of humankind. And the interest of nature was so much above humankind that humans had to make sacrifice. Reduce their consumption, reduce their growth, reduce their mobility, reduce their comfort. And of course, nobody wants to do that because humankind doesn't want to have less, but to have better. And this probably explains why the ecological parties always remain such a small minority in every government, because they were not giving to the population the paradigm that would attract them. So here I will speak as a psychiatrist and not just as an explorer, but you will not have people changing their lifestyle or changing their habits unless there is a huge crisis or a personal advantage to do it. So if we want to do it before there is a huge crisis and not wait for it, even if we know it might come, but do it now, we have to give a personal interest. So the change of paradigm is to make it profitable. And stop being ecological for being logical. And being logical, what does it mean? It means to see that we are very demanding to have the latest telephone or the latest computer, but we're completely laid back in terms of energetic systems. Today, just with the technologies that already exist, we can divide by 2 the energy consumption and therefore the CO2 emissions, while creating a lot of jobs, making a lot of profit and stimulating growth. And to the people who are against growth, we have to remind them that the clean growth is much better than the dirty status quo we have today. So imagine the market for the industry to change the systems we have for mobility, construction, heating, cooling, energy savings, smart grid, industrial processes, with the technologies that already exist today. It's a fantastic market for the industry. Even for climate change deniers, it's purely logical to do it. Don't tell them it protects the environment also, because they don't care, and it's, well, I'm not here to say if they are right or wrong. I'm just saying that even for them, it is the best way to launch, again, a process of growth. Because if we have so little growth in the world, it's just because people don't buy more because they have what they need. Imagine you give them better systems, better processes that save energy, that reduce their energy bill, that gives them more comfort. For the one of you who drive an electric car, it's really difficult to go back in a combustion engine car because there is more acceleration, more torque, more comfort, less noise. Just fantastic. It's a living room that is rolling on wheels. It's not even a vehicle anymore. So all these advantages, if they come to the market, will create a huge profit for the industry. But most of the people don't know about it. And they don't know how profitable it has already become. I meet a lot of specialists who say, and in the world of politics, they tell me, yes, of course, that's the ideal situation, and it might happen in 2050. I hate 2050, because it's the goal of everybody, 2050, when nobody can control if the goal was reached, when no one will be there to take the responsibility if the goal was not reached. Today, much before 2050, we can use these solutions if only people knew how profitable they are, how reliable they are. And this is exactly now what we are doing in the Take It Further. So when people ask me, what are your new projects? I tell them it's not yet a new project. It is still the second part of Solar Impulse. The first part was to fly around the world, to show the credibility, to attract the awareness, and to be invited here, Fatih. Now it's done. We have shown it works. And the second phase is starting, is to bring together in the World Alliance of Efficient Solutions that we are creating, to bring together the startups, individuals, small, medium companies or big corporations, institutions, universities, who have a process, a program, an idea, a product, a clean tech system that can, at the same time, protect the environment and make profit. There are thousands of them everywhere. If only we knew what exists, but we don't. So our goal is to make it known. Our goal is to bring all these people together in this World Alliance and to offer for free, because we have our own partners from Solar Impulse Foundation, offering for free to the members the connection with experts. And this is what we are doing now in our new collaboration with the IEA. And it's fantastic because you have these 300 experts who can assess the credibility of the solutions we receive. The European Commission is supporting us. We have signed MOUs with different countries, cities, and so on, in order to be able to be certain that the solutions that come in the alliance are credible. Now, the second thing we offer is the link with investors, for free. The link with investors. In the world today, where the stock exchange market is a casino, you have a lot of funds and a lot of private and big investors who are desperate to find projects to invest. So creating this link between the solutions that are assessed with investors will allow these companies to grow. And our third goal is to offer the promotion, also for free, the promotion of these solutions to the governments, to the institutions, internationally speaking, to all the countries, and to the big corporations. And why is that so important? It's because now the goals that are set in terms of reducing climate change or protection of the environment are most often goals that are at minima just discussed between parties or even between political parties, between left and right, and the minimal they can agree to is set as a target. But it's not based on reality. The reality are the solutions that can reach these targets. So we have decided to bring, by COP24 next year in Poland, to bring a list of 1,000 solutions. We have to strike the spirit of the people a little bit. 1,000 solutions that are profitable to protect the environment, and bring them to all the countries, to all the governments, in order to show that we can have much more ambitious energy and environmental policies because the solutions exist. They exist. If you have a computer with 300 giga, you are not going to use only the memory of 20 mega, like we do today in a metaphor with what we have now in policy. No, you use the 300 giga if you have 300 giga. Today, we have 1,000 solutions. We don't know that they exist, but we have to use them. We have to make them known. So this work is, of course, a collaboration with all the countries. So I'm really happy to be able to speak through your presence here with as many countries just in 1 hour. Because all the startups or the companies in your countries can join the World Alliance. They can come with their solutions. They can come with their ideas, with their new products. They will be more than welcome. It's a World Alliance. It's not just Swiss. It's not just French. It's not just European. It's worldwide. So they're all welcome. We'll have also open doors for experts from different countries to join us, add forces. And then the goal is to give you the return. Out of all the solutions we gathered, the return of the 1,000 that are credible, that are assessed, that have a label from the World Alliance and the Solar Impulse Foundation, in order for your countries to be able to use them. So it's really a collaboration that I am suggesting here. You are absolutely free to call us, to visit us, to write us, to bring all the ideas, all the list of startups, all the people who need support in your country to be better known, better promoted, better funded, better assessed. And then, by the end of next year, this list of 1,000 solutions will be yours. And I think it's a fantastic challenge. It's a little bit like on this picture here. That's the last picture I did when I flew around the world in a balloon. It's the window of the capsule. It is frozen by the moisture of the night, putting big ice crystals on the glass. And on the other side, you have a rising sun. But you will never see the rising sun if you first refuse to go through the ice. And so many people in life prefer to suffer in the ice they know rather than to take the risk of going through the ice to see what there is on the other side. What we are suggesting is to go through the ice, through this fear of the unknown, through these old paradigms, through these old habits that make us prisoners of the past, in order to bring the solutions that will make not just a better world. Of course, we all dream of a better world, but a more efficient world, a more profitable world, a more profitable industry, a more profitable economy and finance system, just because we have this revolution that offers us so much new ways of doing and thinking, so many more products, process, and results. So this is where we stand now. We are at the moment where people, a little bit like the world of aviation, tells us, what are you doing here? It's a little bit naive, it's a dream, it's a philosophical vision. No, it's very practical. So a moment like this, when Fatih Birol believes in what we are doing, when you invite the ambassadors of the countries, where you listen to me and where you take it seriously, it's like when the first partners came for Solar Impulse and made it happen. And we will only make it happen together. Together. And this is fantastic because it's a pioneering adventure again. It is something that doesn't exist. We're creating something that doesn't exist. Giving access for free to all the startups and companies to have solutions assessed, funded and promoted. I think we can really do something that has never been done. We can be pioneers, we can explore, and this is what makes life so interesting. Thank you very much.
So, this was the definition of an inspirational speech. So, thank you very much for that. Inspiration for underline the importance of science, innovation, but I thought it was also a philosophical speech. Thank you very much for that. Underlining the importance of fighting against dogmas, if I may say so. So we have a few minutes of time. If you agree, Bertrand, I will get some questions from our colleagues here. But I want to start with one, if I may. I mean, just a very simple one. I mean, your adventure is unbelievable, an incredible adventure from the day you had the idea to landing to Abu Dhabi. And I am sure you face many, many different kinds of challenges and problems. If you have to pick up one, what was the most difficult challenge you faced throughout your adventure?
To be honest, bureaucracy.
Okay, we have all the governments here. It's a good choice.
Bureaucracy is really difficult, huh? Because bureaucracy tries to avoid everything that is uncertain and unknown. And we were a project of uncertainty and unknown. So it was two different worlds meeting. And I tell you, if in the future you have less big adventures and exploration feats, it's not because there will be a lack of ideas, it's because there will be so many administrative obstacles. It is so difficult. And, well, if the Wright brothers and Lindbergh and Amelia Earhart had this type of obstacles, I'm not sure aviation would have continued to be used as a mean of transportation. So let's be careful. Let's really be careful not to limit everything new that is coming. We have to go with it. We should not fight it. And administration is important to give the frame for development, but not to put a brake to development.
Thank you very much. So I would like to turn to, I'm sure, Mr. Secretary General, you must have a question, otherwise I will be surprised. So.
I was very inspired by your talk, and it also brought home the fact that recently we have been fighting against the unbelievers or the non-believers in the question of climate change. As you know, it's always there are always skepticals who are not joining in the fight, and we produced a work called Investing in Climate, Investing in Growth. What you just said a moment ago about saying it can be protecting the environment, protecting the fighting against climate can be a good business, can be generate jobs, can generate investment, can generate technologies. You know, and those who are dedicated to this can actually move ahead, and they can be pioneers, but also make money out of it. Yeah. So we delivered this to Angela Merkel a few weeks ago in the Petersburg Dialogues on climate change, and she asked me to then take it to Taormina, to the leaders of the G7, where we delivered it to all the leaders of the G7, well, with, let's say, diverse success. But still, you know, the idea is that this will make the leaders think about the fact that, yes, protecting the environment can be good business, can be good for growth. And so we wanted to give it to you in honor of your presence here, and
thank you very much.
Show our appreciation.
Thank you very much. This is so true and so useful, and it will be helping us to reach our goal.
Thank you so much.
Thank you so much.
Thank you.
Thank you very much, Mr. Secretary General, for your kind gesture. So now going back to questions. Who would like to ask the first or second? Mine was the first. Second question to Dr. Piccard. Who would like to start? Yes, Mr. Fraser.
Thanks very much for a really wonderful presentation. My question is whether, when you work with the inventors, do you always work with them directly and give advice? I'm aware of, in Canada, where I'm from, of government organizations that are fulfilling a similar role to yours in terms of encouraging startups with innovation, particularly related to clean tech and that kind of thing. Do you work with those kind of organizations as well, or do you work just directly with the innovators?
we work with everybody because we are not competing against anyone. So everybody can be a startup, an innovator, or can be a big association of clean tech companies or whoever, they can join. We were discussing yesterday with InnoEnergy. It's a European institution. And they can join because they will have something additional to what they already have. So we are not going to fund them, but we're going to link them with funds and investors. We don't have the skills to make the assessment of the credibility, but we work with experts like the one of IEA. But for the promotion, this we can do. And this is something where we have a huge strike power with Solar Impulse, because the governments are interested to hear what we have to say, the media, social media, conventional media. We have films that are prepared. We have all this possibility to push these solutions as information, because usually all these solutions are coming in specialized media. But for us, it's an information to the world. And this is where we can really support and help.
Thank you. Thank you very much. Now, Ambassador Van Hulst.
Yes, thank you very much again, Dr. Piccard, for a very inspiring talk. I met you 5 years ago, but it's still you are going very strong. I have a very simple question in terms of we are here, also as you say, a representative of governments. So governments, of course, make policy. So if you look at this kind of initiative that you are spearheading, so how, in your view, could energy policies facilitate better the kind of things that you're trying to do?
Yes. I give you the example of innovation. A lot of money is invested, private or public money, into innovation. There is a cheaper way to do than to giving money directly to stimulate innovation. It's to put a legal framework that requires the solution from the innovators, which means that much earlier on in the process, the innovators will be profitable. If you put a goal, for example, to have a maximum use of 2 liters or equivalent of 2 liters of gasoline per 100 kilometers in a car, and it's mandatory to reach that goal in 5 years, all the inventors who have solutions will be the heroes. They will arrive with their solutions, and they will immediately be used by the industry. So the industry will protest during 6 months, and then during the 4.5 years following these 6 months, they will just implement what the innovators are giving them. So it makes innovation profitable much earlier. So the role, I think, of the government is to lead. It's not only to manage. And today, when we see that the country is only managed, what happens? The governments tell to the citizen what to do. And citizens are fed up to hear what they have to do. What they want is to be led. They want a vision. They want to understand why they have to do something, why the country has to take one direction or another. If it's only management, it leads to a lot of populism, because the population wants to feel, again, they're independent and they break the system. But if you have a leadership showing the vision, showing where to go and why to reach these goals, the population will accept to go, to do the efforts. The innovation will be an heroic way to reach these goals. But the goals have to be ambitious, really ambitious, much more than what we have today.
Thank you very much. Now, other questions to Dr. Piccard. Mr. Varro, I think you have a question.
I wonder that now that they have seen you on television, did the aviation industry come back to you? Because I'm really inspired by you capitalizing your media power. But what I'm also interested in is that a lot of the actual technological solutions that you put into this machine. Will we see it in our Boeing airplane 5 years from now? So was this a wake-up call for the industry?
Yeah, absolutely. The ones who were laughing when we were trying are now all working on electric airplane programs. And I had a panel with Tom Enders, the CEO of Airbus. I think if he had been CEO 10 years ago, Airbus would have supported us, because Tom Enders is really a man with vision. So I did not know him at the time, but now it's clear that Airbus and now a lot of other airplane companies are working on two different things. One is the airplane flying electric, and the other one are vertical takeoff drones to transport 4 or 5 people for urban mobility, the Uber of the air. And it can only be electric, to have the torque, to have the flexibility, and to be silent and not disturb the neighbors in a city. And I can make you the promise that in 8 years and 10 months, there will be electric airplanes with 50 passengers for short-haul flights. I say that because since a year and 2 months, I'm saying in 10 years. So the countdown has started. People are working on it. So it will not be airplanes with solar power that will fly forever. And I don't think any passenger would like to fly forever. So it will not be many days of flights with a solar airplane and passengers, but short haul, 1,000 kilometers, landing very close to cities in order to serve the public and the network much better. And this can only be done because it's cleaner and more efficient and silent.
For Swiss Air, maybe? Mr. Ambassador, what do you think? Swiss Air, no? No Swiss Air anymore. So it's a good way of looking at it.
It will be clean air.
So I think listening what your grandfather said on the phone, we'll be late for lunch. I don't want to be late for lunch for all of the colleagues here. But before leaving this meeting, I have one question to you. In fact, we have all these distinguished speakers. We asked them at the end of their speeches to give a piece of advice to IEA. So we started to work together. We are very happy to work with you and with your colleagues, Bertrand. If you have to give a piece of advice to our colleagues and myself here, what would you choose?
I would like the IEA to be much more involved in the political decisions of the countries regarding the legal frameworks that has to be implemented. Because if you always remind everybody that the new energy solutions are available to be cleaner and more profitable, then the legal framework will encourage this transition instead of blocking this transition. So I hope that you will be heard, and I hope that you will be the ambassadors not only of your country here, but also of this message into your country, because this will really be helpful. And so many countries can benefit from it. So many people will live better. You know, electric mobility is not just to have fun when you drive. It reduces billions in the public health bill in terms of lung cancers, chronic bronchitis, and asthma. It's billions. So we see that we have hidden gains in clean energy. We have hidden gains in energy efficiency. Maybe this is what we have to speak much more about, the hidden gains, everything we get out of it, even on the side, not just on the energy use, but everything that is into that frame.
This is an excellent advice, and it's in fact one of the main topics of our ministerial meeting this November with all the ministers across the world and the CEOs of energy industry. So, ladies and gentlemen, I hope you did enjoy as much as I did this very, very inspirational speech on science, innovation, technology, and I would say philosophy. If I had to learn, I learned many things. Thank you very much once again, Bertrand. But the thing I learned once again, the power of fighting against dogmas. This is a very important lesson to learn. And please do join me to thank Dr. Bertrand Piccard. Thank you.
Thank you, Patrick. Thank you so much. Really enjoyed. Thank you to you.
Now we are inviting you all for a reception to perhaps you continue to enjoy talking with Dr. Piccard just outside of this room. Thank you. The Marshall Room. Thank you.